Recently, the UFC has been accused of having a superstar problem. The UFC has created superstars in the past. Obviously, the notorious one, Conor McGregor. Nate Diaz. The Iceman, Chuck Liddell. The Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz. All of these guys have been superstars for the UFC. But lately, it feels like somebody needs to step up. Could it be that somebody needs to step up? Or could it be that the UFC has been doing a terrible job at marketing some of its fighters? Alex Pereira last year was the closest thing the UFC has had to a superstar since the Conor McGregor days. The UFC should have put everything behind Poatan during that championship run, which was legendary for 2024. They messed it up by not promoting him enough. It was Pereira that was promoting himself on social media. It was Nina Drama promoting him. None of that was the UFC. Pereira showed up, KO'd guys, went home, posted videos on TikTok. That is amazing work by Pereira. Where was the UFC for all of this? How about Nate Diaz as well? When Nate Diaz beat Conor McGregor, it changed his life. He became one of the biggest stars in the sport ever. But that was the same Nate Diaz that's been around in the UFC since 2007. What took the UFC so long to put money behind Nate Diaz? And even then, they still didn't put all that money behind Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz was out there being a Diaz brother. And he became a superstar because of it. The UFC has top quality fighters right now in the UFC that can become global superstars. They have Ilia Topuria, who has all the potential in the world to carry the UFC brand. He's carrying it in Spain. He's carrying it in Georgia. But the UFC brand needs to get behind that man and carry him in the US. We have a UFC heavyweight champion like Tom Aspinall, who has been on an absolute tear, putting other heavyweights to sleep. He's an exciting fighter. Just go look at his last two fights. And you're telling me they can't put money behind them to make him a global superstar? Yes, they tried with John Jones. But let's be real, John Jones wasn't interested in the fight from the get-go. Anyone could have seen that John Jones was not taking that fight. So what's the next best thing to do? You put him in there against Cyril Gane at the end of October and on a card that isn't even stacked. That's not going to help Tom Aspinall. And Tom Aspinall's dad has gone on record to say the UFC has done a crappy job in promoting his son. He's not wrong. I hope Tom Aspinall realizes it so when his contract runs out, he goes and does what Francis Ngannou does and goes and gets paid. Francis Ngannou, an absolute monster for the UFC. Should have been the face of the UFC the way Mike Tyson was the face of boxing back in the day. And yet, politics, backstage negotiating, and outright being a crummy promotion had Francis Ngannou leave right out the door. He should have been the face of the UFC during his run as heavyweight champion and during his run up to the top of the mountain. This can't keep happening. Yes, they wanted Sean O'Malley to be that star. Yes, he had the charisma for it. But it just didn't work out because they also were not putting him in there against the very best in the division. I love Cheeto Vera, but he should have not been the first title defense. You have Kayla Harrison in the female division. She can be a bona fide superstar. She's an extraordinary fighter. And yet, we've been lacking the news of a potential super fight between her and Amanda Nunes. If Amanda Nunes does not want to fight, which is okay because she already retired, put her in against another person. Promote her. Take her out on tour for press conferences. Do social media promotion with her. She's an amazing athlete. And the UFC has not been doing her justice. Back in the day, freaking Dana White said they don't know how to promote Amanda Nunes. How is it hard promoting a female knockout artist that is knocking out women? She knocked out Holly Holm. She destroyed Ronda Rousey. And then she goes and puts on a showcase against Juliana Pena. How is she hard to promote? Bring a team of social media experts and promote these fighters the way they should be promoted. There's a bunch of superstars on that roster. There is so much untapped potential on that roster. And the UFC can't capitalize on it. They messed up with Nate Diaz. It took them forever to realize he's a bona fide star. They missed out on Francis Ngannou. Look, Francis went and boxed AJ and Tyson Fury for a boatload of money. People hate on him for it, but for what? He made millions. That's the name of the game. The UFC needs to get its act together and stop pretending like it doesn't need a superstar to sell pay-per-views. Because it truly does, as we haven't had one in a very long time. Yes, pay-per-views are going away. But we still need the excitement of having several superstars sell out shows, arenas, and get people hyped for Saturday night UFC events. Those are the best of times for the sport.
Eat your vegetables.